What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create an AI sales agent by creating a simple workflow in an A10. Let's get started. In an A10, I've created a workflow that I've renamed to AI sales agent. Here, we're going to create an agent that sends personalized responses to leads who have responded to your cold emails. To get started, here, we're going to add a trigger. Since we are sending our leads cold emails, I'm going to search for Gmail and click on Gmail, and here I'm going to click on message received as our trigger. So here you'll need to create a credential by clicking on create a new credential. Then over here click on sign in with Google, and then on the new window that pops up, choose the account that you'd like to link to anytime. And after doing that, your connection will be created. Since I had already done that, I'm going to close this right here. And here the mode I'm going to choose every minute. The event will be message received. For example, here could be an email response that a prospect can send to us. The email is on the lines of, "Hi Dennis, I came across your services and I'm very interested. We are a small team scaling quickly and we're running a manual task. I'd love to talk this week about how you could help us automate our client onboarding and email follow-ups. Can we set up a call? Thanks, Rachel." Here I'll click on send. We send this email right here. Now, when I go back to our workflow and click on fetch test event, you can see we're getting our email body right here. So I'll turn this to off to get a complete email. Here, you can see we're getting our email right here that Rachel just sent to us, responding to a cold email that maybe we sent them. Over here. So here I'll click on back to canvas, and here I'll pin this data and use this email to set up our workflow. The first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to wait a few seconds. So I'll search for the wait node, and here we can wait, let's say 5 seconds. Then here I'll rename this to wait 5 seconds. And then here I'll click on rename, and then I'll execute this node over here. You can see our node was executed successfully. The next thing that we're going to do here is we're going to set variables to our emails data. So here I'll search for the edit fields node, and here we're going to start with the name of the sender. Here you can name this to lead name. You can do the same with the email. You can also add the subject line here. You can say this is the subject line and the email body here. And then here I'll click on execute step to set the variables over here. Now the next thing that we're going to do here is we're going to add a condition and say that if, so I'll search for the if node and say if the email address is available. So here we can say if the email address, the email body, and the lead's name is available, we'd like to proceed with our workflow. You can see our output is in the true branch, but if our output was in the false branch here, I'd like to do nothing. So I'll search for the do nothing node right here. And then I'll continue to set up our workflow. So the next thing that we're going to do here is we're going to add our data to a database. In Airtable, I've created a database that I've renamed to sales leads base. In this database, I've created a table that I've renamed to leads. And here we're going to add the lead's name, email address, the status, which could be either hot, warm, or cold. We're also going to add the response and the email response that we're going to generate using our AI agent. So to add our leads data to this database, here I'll search for Airtable and click on Airtable. And here we're going to start by creating a record. Here you'll need to create a credential by clicking on create a new credential. From Airtable, add your access token right here. To get your access token in Airtable, click on your profile, then click on build a hub right here. Here, click on create a token, give it a name, and add the scopes right here. Here you'll also add a base. Choose the base that you like to access via any10, and then click on create a token, then copy the token, and come and paste the token right here, and click on save to create your credential. Since I had already done that, I'm going to close this right here and choose our base, which is this base right here. I'm going to choose our table, copy this table, and then here we're going to map values to our columns in our database with the data that we set right here. So for the lead name, I'm going to map it right here. Same with the email address. The lead status can either be hot, warm, or cold. We're going to update it later on. And then here we're going to map the email, the client response. So here I'll click on execute step. You can see we added our data here to our database. Now the next thing that we're going to do here is we're going to pass our lead's response to an AI agent to determine whether this lead is a hot lead, warm lead, or a cold lead. So here I'll search for AI, then click on AI agent. Here I'm going to define below and add the prompt and the system message over here. The prompt could be on the lines of your lead qualification assistant, and the system message could be on the lines of your task is to read the client's email response and classify the intent into exactly one of these three categories: a hot lead, a warm lead, or a cold lead. For the hot lead, the client shows strong interest, urgency, or a clear intent to buy, book a call, or move forward soon. For the warm lead, the client shows curiosity or some interest, but is not urgent or fully committed yet. They may be exploring or requesting more information. For the cold lead, the client shows little to no interest, says they're not looking right now, or rejects the offer. Here we're outlining some rules. So we're saying always output only one word, hot, warm, or cold. Do not include explanation or any other text. Then here we're adding our client email response from Gmail right here. So here we'll start by adding a chat model. I'm going to choose OpenAI chat model. You need to create a credential. Then from your OpenAI API, add your API key right here to create your credential. I'm going to close it. And then here we're going to choose a model. You can choose all these models right here, including the latest one that we're using currently, which is GPT-5. I'm going to stick with the GPT 4.1 mini. And then I'll click on back to Converse and drag this at the top right here. Here, I'm going to use the simple memory. I'm going to choose to define below and add the key. The key could be our date that our email was sent. I'll also drag this at the top right here. We can also instruct this agent to use a think tool. So using I'll also search for a think tool, and then I'll click on the think tool right here. And then I'll also drag it to the top over here, and then I'll rename this to think tool. And then here I'll click on rename. Now here I'll open this node, and then I'll click on execute step. You can see it's executing our node. And you can see you got an output of hot right here, so it was classified as hot. So here I'll rename this to AI sales agent. Then I'll click on rename over here. The next thing that we're going to do here is I'll search for the wait node right here. Click on it. You can wait, let's say, 4 seconds. So you can generate a personalized response for each of our lead. So here I'll execute this node. Now with our response here, since we're classifying our leads into 3 categories, here I'll use the switch node, and then I'll click on the switch node right here and add the rows. So here if the output is hot, I'll rename this output to hot. So add another root and say if the output is warm, I'll rename this output to warm. Then I'll add one last root and say if the output is cold, I'll rename this output to cold. Then here you can see our output is in the hot branch right here. So let's go ahead and set up the root. So here we're going to start generating email responses using OpenAI. So in AI, I'm going to click on OpenAI, then click on message a model node over here. I'll choose my credential, then here I'll choose our model and choose 4.1 mini. And then here I'll add the prompt for the system role and the user role over here. The prompt for the system role could be on the lines of you're a sales agent crafting a professional and friendly reply to a hot lead. And here we're adding a couple of instructions where you're telling the AI, read the prospect's email, write a personalized response that thanks them, acknowledges their specific request, and invites them to schedule a call or next step soon. Keep the tone professional yet approachable. The output must include only an email body, not include any labels, explanation, or extra formatting. Always sign off as relaxed automation. And then here we're adding our prospect's email. An output would like to only output the body. I'll output our content as a JSON. Then I'll click on execute step to generate a personalized response to our lead. Here, you can see that our node was executed successfully, and we generated our response over here. Click on tables to view the personalized response that we generated using our workflow. We responded to Rachel by saying, hi Rachel, thank you for reaching out and expressing your interest in our services. I appreciate your consideration. I'm glad to hear that you're looking to make your client onboarding and email follow-up support your growing team. I will be more than happy to discuss how we can assist you streamlining your processes. Let's schedule a call this week to delve deeper into the requirements and explore how Lux Automation can help. looking forward to our conversation. Best regards, Dennis from Labs Automation. So here I'll click on back to Converse, and then here I can rename this to hot leads email response, and then click on rename over here. The next thing that we're going to do here is I'll set the variable for the email response over here. Then I'll drag it over here and say that this is the email response over here. Then I'll click on execute step. So here I'll rename this now to hot lead response, then click on rename. Now the next thing that we're going to do here is we're going to now send a reply to a lead. So I'll search for Gmail over here, click on Gmail, then here I'll click on reply to a message node. Here I'm going to choose my credential and add our message ID right here. To get our message ID from the Gmail trigger, I'll map our ID, email type as choose text, and add our response right here. Choose this email response, I'll map it right here. Then the other thing that we're going to do here is I'll click on add option, and then in append init and attribution, I'll turn this to off and click on execute step to reply to our lead right here. To reply to our lead here. So here I'll rename this to send hot lead response, and then I'll click on rename. We can also add a label to this email. So I'll search for Gmail and click on Gmail. Then here I'll add a label to a message. Here I'll map our ID right here and select the label. Our label is going to be for hot leads. So I'll search for the hot lead right here. Click on execute step. We'll add a label to our message right here. Lastly, now we're going to update the status and the sales agent email response right here in our database. To do that, I'll search for Airtable. Click on Airtable. Then I'll update a record. So I'll click on the node right here. I'll choose our base, which will be this base right here. And then I'll choose our table, which will be this table. Now here we're going to update our record. So yeah, I'll search for Airtable, and then I'll map the ID over here. Then we'd like to update the lead status, which will be hot. And then here I'll add our email response over here. So I'll map it over here. So here I'll click on execute step to update our record. And now you can see we updated our record with the lead status and the sales agent email response over here. This is amazing. Hot leads route is pretty much set up. Let us do the same with the warm and cold route. So instead of manually having to do everything again, we can duplicate these nodes. So I'll duplicate these nodes twice over here. And then here, I'll connect this over here to warm. And then I'll connect this one over here to cold. So here, I've gone ahead and updated the warm leads route and the cold leads route with the respective prompts and data. So for the warm leads email response node, the prompt is on the lines of you're a sales agent crafting a professional and friendly reply to a warm lead email. Then user roles prompt is on the lines of read the prospect's email, then write a personalized response that thanks them for reaching out, acknowledges their curiosity, and offers to share examples, case studies, or schedule a quick call if they'd like to explore further. Keep the tone professional yet approachable. The output must include only an email body. Do not include any labels, explanations, or extra formatting. Always sign off with Labs Automation. And here we're adding the prospect's email, and we'd like to output only the email body. Here. Then here we are setting the variable for our response, which will be the response that we generate using this node. And here we are sending the reply to our lead via Gmail over here using this node. And here we're updating the label of this email, which will be the label will be the warm leads. And then lastly, we're updating the status in our database in Airtable, where here we're updating the status, which will be warm over here. So we're doing the same with the cold leads route. So the prompts for the cold leads route, the prompt is on the line. So you're a sales agent crafting a professional and friendly reply to a cold leads email. Then the prompt is on the lines of read the prospect's email, then write a polite and respectful response that thanks them for their message, acknowledges that they're not interested right now, and leaves the door open for future contact. Keep the tone professional yet approachable. The output must include only an email body. Do not include any labels, explanation, or extra formatting, and always sign off with Labs Automation. And here we're adding the prospect's email, and we'd like to output only the email body. Yeah. Then here we're setting the variable for the email response, then sending the response to our lead via this node. Here we're updating the label of our response to cold leads, and then we're also updating the status in our database as cold over here. What we're going to do here is we're going to complete our workflow since it's pretty much set up. So I'll search for the do nothing node right here. Click on it. And then here we're going to also drag these rows right here to complete our workflow. So our workflow is pretty much set up. Our workflow is triggered after a lead or a prospect that we sent an outreach message to responds to us. Then we're waiting a few seconds. Then here we're setting the variable to lead and the message. Then if they meet our conditions, we're adding them to a database in a table. Then we are classifying them if they are hot, warm, or cold using this AI agent. Then we're waiting a few seconds, and then using the switch node, depending on the output right here, we're either directing the lead to the hot leads route, warm leads route, or the cold leads route, where we are generating personalized responses using this AI OpenAI nodes right here. Then we're setting the variable for the responses right here using these nodes. Then here we are sending the response that we generated using these nodes to our leads using these Gmail nodes right here. Then we're also adding labels, respective labels to our message, and then updating the record, our leads record, in Airtable with the status and the response that we generated using this node here, using these nodes here. So let us try testing our workflow so you can see how it works. So to do that, here I'll unpin this data. So and then here I'll assume this is the response that a prospect will send to us after we send them a cold email. So here I'll click on send. And now in our workflow, I'll click on execute workflow. Here you can see our workflow was executed successfully. Now when I open this node, you can see the email that was the prospect sent to us here. The email came from Rachel. Then we waited a few seconds. Then we set the variables for the email data here in the lead. Then if they met our condition, we're adding them to Airtable. Then here, when I open this node, you can see we're classifying them as hot. Then we're waiting a few seconds. You can see they're being taken through the hot lead route, where we're generating a personalized response within this node. Then here we are setting the variable for the email response. And then we are sending the response via Gmail. Then we are also adding a label to the response and updating our record in Airtable with the status and the response that we generated for them over here. Now, when I open our inbox, you can see the email response that we're sending to our lead right here. Here is the message. And then when I open our Airtable, our database, you can see we added our record right here. Here we added the lead name, email address, and the response right here that they sent us. Then we generated an email response that we added right here and updated the status as hot. Let us try testing the warm leads route. To test our workflow, I'll send this email as a prospect. The email is on the lines of, "Hello Dennis, I'm exploring ways to improve my business processes and your automation services sound interesting. Could you share a few examples of what you've done with other companies?" So yeah, I'll click on send to send this email. Then in our workflow, I'll click on execute workflow. You can see that our workflow is executed successfully. So now here, when I open this node, you can see we capture the email that we just sent to ourselves right here. The email was from Emily. Then we waited a few seconds. Then we set the variables for the email data right here. Now, if it met our condition, we are creating a record in Airtable, in our database in Airtable. Then here we're classifying the lead as warm using this AI agent. Then we're waiting for a few seconds, and then we are switching to the warm leads route, going ahead and generating a personalized email response to a lead using this node. Then we're setting the variable for the response. Then we're sending the lead the response using this node. And here we are adding a label to our message, and then updating the record that we created right here in Airtable with the lead's response and their status as warm. So now, when I open my inbox, you can see the email that the prospect sent us over here, and the response that we generated using our workflow right here. We send them using our workflow right here. When I open our database, you can see we added a new lead right here. We added their lead name, email address, and their response. Then we later on updated the lead with the response that we generated using our workflow and their status right here as warm. Now let us try testing the cold leads route. To test the cold leads route, I'll send this email as a prospect. The email is on the lines of, "Hi Dennis, thanks for reaching out, but I'm not looking to make changes at the moment, maybe in the future. But for now, I'll pass." So here, I'll click on send. to send this message, to send this email in our workflow, I'll click on execute workflow right here. You can see that our workflow is executed successfully. So here we captured our emails that a prospect sent us, saying that they're not interested at the moment. Prospect was Daniel. Then we waited a few seconds. Then we set the variable for their email and their data right here. Then if they met our condition, we created them in Airtable. Then using this AI agent, we are classifying them as called leads. Then we waited a few seconds and then we switched them to the call leads route using the switch. Then here we generated a personalized response using this node. Then we set the response. Then we set the variable for the response using this node right here. Then here we sent the lead, the response that we generated using this node over here using Gmail. Then we added a label to the message using this node, and then updated the record that we created right here with their response and the status. When I open our inbox, you can see the email that the prospect sent us and the response that we sent them right here. Hi Daniel, thank you for your message. I completely understand that you're not looking to make changes at the moment. Please know that the door is always open whenever you're ready to explore further. Feel free to reach out whenever you're comfortable. God's luck automation. And now in our Airtable database, you can see we created a new record right here where we added the lead's name, the email address, and the client response. Then we later on updated this record with the email response that we generated using our workflow and the status over here as called. We generated these personalized responses and added the responses to our database over here using this workflow that we created right here in Anygen. Our workflow works perfectly. Now, if you'd like me to create this workflow for you or a workflow similar to this one, just click the first link in the description to schedule a call with me. On the call, we'll discuss into details the workflow that you'd like me to create for you. Then I'll proceed to create the workflow for you. But if you enjoyed this video and you have a workflow or an AI agent in mind that you'd like me to create using Anyten, just comment down below in the comment section. I read all the comments, and if I land in your comment and I find it intriguing, I'll come back on a future video showing you how to create the entire workflow or AI agent from scratch using Anyten. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.